The vast world of Red Dead Redemption 2 is full of incredible detail. Whether it be locations, the scenarios, or the characters, everything is meticulous and precise, and today I'll be talking about specific aspects of the game and how historically accurate they actually are. Welcome to the video. You're listening to Phil of Philby Gaming. Please be aware, as a quick warning, there will be spoilers ahead for the game. With that being said, I hope you all enjoy, and let's get into what we came here to see. The Pinkerton Detective Agency. The Pinkerton Detective Agency are based on the real life, you guessed it, Pinkerton Detective Agency. In 1850, Scottish-born American Alan Pinkerton teamed with a Chicago-born attorney named Edward Rooker and formed the Northwestern Police Agency, later rebranded as Pinkerton Co, then finally the Pinkerton National Detective Agency. Mr. Pinkerton used his skills in espionage to attract clients, enabling him to grow his agency. The outfit gained notoriety when they claimed to have foiled an attempted assassination in 1861 upon the then active President Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln would later use the services of the Pinkertons to act as his personal security during the American Civil War, while also conducting covert investigations. They were also famous for the invention of the mugshot, which they referred to as Rogue's Gallery, and also being the first of its kind to hire a female detective, Mrs. Kate Warne. Much like the Pinkertons of Red Dead Redemption 2, they were often hired to track down criminals or gangs in general, but also dabbled in guard security during labour disputes, most notably the Great Railroad Strike of 1877. Tuberculosis. By far, one of the most devastating stories of a video game character has to be the fall of Arthur Morgan, who, as we all know, contracted tuberculosis from Thomas Downs, leading to the beginning of the end for him. The spread of tuberculosis, or TB, was very common during the later years of the 19th century. An estimated 70 to 90% of urban populations in both Europe and North America were infected with a species of pathogenic bacteria called Mycobacterium tuberculosis. This would later develop into a causative agent of TB, and around 80% of those who had this disease would perish. Tuberculosis would be given a few different names, such as the White Plague or the Romantic Disease, but most notably, around that time, people referred to it as the Robber of Youth, as it had a higher death rate among younger people. As TB was spread through either coughing or sneezing in close proximity to others, it is believed that the youth weren't as cautious or vigilant when it came to protecting themselves. This is why it spread among them more often than the elderly. Thankfully, around the time of the turn of the century, death figures began to decline. Homeless veterans. The American Civil War, also named the War Between the States, was a war between the Union and the Confederacy, known as the North and South respectively. It lasted a total of 4 years, beginning in April of 1861 to May of 1865. When the war came to a close, with the Union victorious after the surrender of Confederate General Robert Edward Lee, the estimated death toll was believed to be around 620,000 between both sides. But of course, there were also wounded soldiers, many of whom had lost limbs during battles. In Red Dead Redemption 2, we can meet a couple of characters who have suffered such a fate. One of whom is Joe Butler, a former Confederate soldier who lost one of his legs when he served as an artillery major. Because of the amputation, Joe couldn't work and had become forced to beg on the streets. This is historically accurate, as thousands upon thousands of those who survived the war had similar circumstances and were forced to live on the streets after losing their homes. Bounty hunting and debt collection. Arthur Morgan's role in the Van der Linde gang consists of more than being an enforcer and a top gun. He's also a debt collector and in his spare time a bounty hunter. This trade was a pretty popular choice for young able-bodied men during the late 19th century. Companies would either lend money or give credit on properties, and if the client didn't pay up, they would send collectors to retrieve payments. These hired men would often be of a large physical stature, intimidating the debtor into paying immediately. Some of the real-life bounty hunters would go on to make a name for themselves. Notable names such as Charlie Siringo, Mickey Free, and former outlaw and founder of the Wild Bunch, William Bill Doolin. Moonshiners. Of course, without those breaking the law, the bounty hunters wouldn't have much work, and one of the more popular illegal incomes was moonshining. Although many believed that moonshining was illegal because of the sheer strength of the drink, with rumours that it could make you go blind, it was actually all down to the taxes. During the Civil War era in 1862, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, or ATF for short, passed the Revenue Act. This act imposed a tax on numerous items, one of which was moonshine. It was made illegal to produce the product without a permit. This was put in place as the United States, at that particular time, needed to fund the cost of the war that it had waged upon itself. It wasn't illegal to make moonshine as long as you paid its taxes, to which many didn't. This was why the authorities would find small distilleries out in the woods, for example, where people were brewing their own concoctions. This would continue right throughout the late 19th century, but was clamped down on a few decades later during the Prohibition period of the 1920s. The Wheeler, Rawson Co catalogue. In each of the indoor stores in Red Dead Redemption 2, you'll find a copy of the Wheeler, Rawson & Company catalogue, where you can browse the different categorized items such as provisions, clothing and weaponry. But did you know of its real-life counterpart? The American chain of stores, Sears, is actually called Sears, Roebuck & Co. They were founded in Chicago, Illinois in 1892 by Richard Warren Spears and Alva Curtis Roebuck. Although the company filed for bankruptcy in December of 2022, there still remains a handful of stores across 8 separate states. Back when they first launched, in the latter end of the 1900s, they would sell their wares using mail order throughout their very own catalogue. As the years passed, this catalogue would expand to over 300 pages, with the company now selling items such as sewing machines, bicycles, sporting goods and automobiles. If you take a look at the original Sears, Roebuck & Company catalogue, you can clearly see that it was the heavy inspiration behind the Wheeler, Rawson & Co catalogue. Racial tensions. Even though slavery was abolished by the US Congress in 1865, there were still many who would hold grudges and have a hatred towards those of another race or ethnic background. From 1865 up until around 1954, a segregation was put in place separating African Americans from Caucasians. This would be implemented in faculties such as housing, healthcare, education, employment, and transportation. During the late 1850s, a white supremacist group, their title consisting of 3 letters, which I'm not sure I'm allowed to say on a YouTube video, was founded. This group was formed from former Confederate veterans, whom would terrorize, physically assault, and would lynch those who were of different ethnicities. Spoken by Lenny Summers when conversating with Arthur, he points out that sometimes it's just a glance or a whisper, but it's enough to know that they're coming for you. The supremacist group was very active during this era, and unfortunately, although their numbers have dwindled, they're still active as of today. If you guys wish to see more videos on the historical accuracy of Red Dead Redemption 2, be sure to let me know in the comment section, or by finding me over on Instagram, that's at PhilbyGaming. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to be alerted immediately upon the release of each new video. Thank you all for watching, you've been listening to Phil, and I'll see you in the next one.